Hello guys, I will excuse myself already from the start if I sound a bit sick or different, because I am sick and I am different in every single way. Built different, if you will. So today I want to talk about my two favorite MMO RPGs and both their newly released expansion, that being Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail and World of Warcraft The War Within. Now, I've been playing both of these games for approximately 10,000 plus hours each at least, and feel like I got the credentials to form an opinion about them. So I guess you can call this Dawntrail versus The War Within just for the dramatic effect. So let's get right into it. Now, this has been a long time coming for me as an avid player of both games. Not so much WoW in recent years, as some expansions like BFA and Shadowlands left a sour taste in my mouth, but coming back recently and playing both the new expansions of WoW and FF14 have made me ask myself the question, which expansion is worth more of my time at the current stage? And there's a lot of things to talk about and break down, so maybe we should just get into that. First, I want to preface by saying that I have love for both games, for the impact they've had on my life both socially and just giving me my love for MMOs in general. And I will be giving each category a scaling from 1 to 10, and at the end of the video I will calculate together all the numbers to see which one takes the win this time around. Now enough talking, let's actually get into it for the third time. Okay, so let's talk about the story, or MSQ if you play FF14. We all know Dawntrail's story was a mixed bag, sparking numerous controversies, some fights on Twitter, some fights in game, some fights in Discord, and probably some fights in real life too. Now, I don't really care for the story, as I usually skip all of it, but then I come back to the inn and do New Game Plus, but I wasn't bothered either way. But I will say that I think the story in Dawntrail, after watching it in hindsight, did have some pacing problems and a bit too much screen time of a certain character. I guess you can guess who I mean. There was obviously some bits that were enjoyable and intriguing, but I feel like they missed the mark of expectations, especially in quality after such an emotional rollercoaster of Shadowbringers and Endwalker. But I do know the story itself doesn't have 10 years of story behind it like Endwalker, but you can tell the dialogue and interaction quality has just dropped, especially when it comes to the Scions, who were supposed to be a bit sidelined this expansion, but still somehow shoehorned their way into being the main heroes yet again. All in all, I think the rating for a Final Fantasy XIV story is a 6 out of 10. Still great storytelling, but it's very lacking compared to the 9 out of 10 I would have given Endwalker at this point. Now, hopping into WoW's story, it's been certainly an improvement from Dragonflight, the previous expansion, but as per usual, the WoW storytelling starts off with a boom, quite literally this time, and the new villain is quite intriguing and to be built upon. But for the love of God, can we stop having shots at her feet? I don't know who directed these cutscenes, but my god do they love her feet. Anyways, the story does have some bright spots, but sadly there are a lot of elements of the story that gets clouded by political inclusiveness for the sake of a message rather than good storytelling. Also, you spend a big chunk hauling around a weak man baby whose entire character arc is him not using his power because he feels bad, which in turn endangers all of his allies. Now, it's not all bad. I think the lore behind the expansion theme and the Nerubian threat is a nice throwback to familiar enemies of the past, and I'm looking forward to see how things pan out in the long run. But for now, it falls a little bit short to Dawntrail, and I would give it a rating of 4 out of 10. So let's get into the thing that both the story skippers and story enjoyers all care about, the gameplay. It's the nitty gritty, and it's hard to compare these two in terms of gameplay because the design philosophy is completely different. But now we're looking at the expansions by themselves and how they improve the quality of life of the players in each game. Sadly, in my opinion, FF14 fell incredibly short in terms of innovation and giving us back the job identity that we were looking for. There's added skills to all jobs, most of them tied to their buff button as a follow-up, with an exception here and there. In WoW, they gave every class a hero talent tree, which all come with different customization options and builds to swap between. Obviously, if you're a meta slave, then there will be a guaranteed best build for every class in the game, and the problem with Dawntrail in my opinion is that Square Enix is too scared to make changes that separates the homogenization of the current job designs. So gameplay wise, Dawntrail feels just like Endwalker, with nothing real incentivizing to be excited about. Therefore, I would give FF14 a 3 out of 10 on the gameplay upgrade for the new expansion, and I will give the War Within a solid 5 out of 10 for at least going out their way to keep class identity even throughout the new hero talents. So let's talk more about the content that is available right now. As of making this video, FF14 is in its first patch cycle as well as WoW. In Final Fantasy we got 2 extreme trials and a savage tier so far, and in WoW we got normal to mythic raid tier and mythic plus world bosses and delves. Now the problem with Final Fantasy, and always has been, is not the content itself, because quite frankly it slaps, but the gear progression in Final Fantasy XIV has become nothing short of stale. Hopefully with the new Chaotic Alliance raid and future content we might see a wrench being thrown into the wheel of gear progression. As for WoW, gear progression is in a great spot, both being able to upgrade gear, do mythic plus, raid, delves, all with viable gear pieces and upgrades to be had, and the fact that you can convert any regular item into a raid tier set piece makes customization great. The content itself I would give Final Fantasy XIV a 5 out of 10 and WoW a 7 out of 10, and the reason being that I have always found Mythic Plus as both a concept and execution to be a fun alternative gear progression system, and new additions of delves gives yet another fun way to gear even in the higher item levels. As for FF14, I think the visuals of the new Savage tier and all the visual spectacle was 10 out of 10, but I think the difficulty was very underwhelming on the Savage tier, which has obviously been addressed by Yoshi P as well. But the extreme trials were the highlight for me so far, as I thought they were an amazing entry level difficulty to the new expansion. Now you might be sitting on the sideline thinking to yourself, well, which one should I play? This question gets tossed around a lot, and in my opinion, you can play both games. There is no right or wrong. In my case, I'm playing almost only WoW for the moment, because I'm done with the raid tier and patiently waiting for 7.1 in FF14, and instead of burning out, I take a break and explore other games while I wait. Same with WoW if I happen to get bored. Now I will say that if you're looking for a more interactive, fast-paced playstyle with a lot of min-maxing, I would go for WoW, as the amount of gear the game presents is vast in comparison to Final Fantasy, as well as the build and customization options for each class. But if you're looking for a great visual showcase and a grand spectacle, mixed with some more reliance on mechanical performance, I would 100% go with Final Fantasy XIV. I for one will always have love for both games for their own unique style and what they bring to me as a player. But hey, enough about that talk, let's go back to the scoreboard to see which new expansion takes home the gold for Season 1. The end result of the points I've given out so far ends with 14 points for Dawntrail and 16 points for the War Within. So overall, when it comes down to the newest expansion, I do think the War Within does bring more interesting things to the table, both in the way of keeping the things that works and adding things to keep it fresh and new. Dawntrail to me so far feels like Endwalker, even though I know it's bound to change. I want to see gear progression changes and the 2-minute meta to go away and return us some class identity. But to be fair, this has all been one man's take. How about you? Are you playing both games, or are you only playing one of them? If so, what is your current opinion on the current expansion, and are you looking forward to the patch cycles? Comment down below. And as always, I've been Vermillions, and I'll see you next time. Also, I'll give you 1,000 bottles of baby oil, no Diddy, if you subscribe. Bye.